Super League.
2019 Betfred Women's Super League champions, the Leeds Rhinos. Absolutely fabulous.
Saints are champions of Super League again.
If you'd have told me what would happen this year, I wouldn't have believed you. A year like no other. A challenge we all face together. Our game is a family. Families come together in times of adversity.
Through adversity comes strength. Through strength comes spirit.
A spirit that cannot be broken.
Learn from what's been before. Take every opportunity. Honour every moment. Play every minute with a full heart and a cool head. No one's where they expected to be this year. It's been an uncharted season. There's no map to guide us. There are no boundaries to what can be achieved.
We're missing you.
We know you're missing being there.
If we can't be side by side,
we know you'll be right behind us.
It instills a belief that you can overcome any obstacle. And with belief, you can be unstoppable.
Best two teams this season, first and second, are meeting in this grand final, aren't they?
Yeah, I'd say that. I think consistently the league's shown it. They've been the best two teams. They've been able to beat anybody on their day. But I think it's an exciting final because both teams are beatable. They've been beaten a number of times by different sides. And I just think it's just an intriguing game. I think last year's grand final was there for Saints to lose. I think, if Saints even played at 7 out of 10, they'd have beat Salford playing at 10 out of 10. But I think for me it's an exciting game because it's positive, because it's there for both teams to win. But if either side decides to play at 10 out of 10, they'll win that game. And I think for me as well, one of the best things is the kind of human element going into it. The James Graham and the Sean O'Loughlin story.
And we're going to hear from both of them in this show. We're going to hear from Robert Elston. We're going to hear from Mossy Massoy. We'll be talking Rob Burrow as well. And very, very quickly, before we turn our attention to the game, there's a fierce rivalry to chuck in as well, isn't there?
There is, it's just...
Come on, for people who don't realise, how fierce is this rivalry between Wigan and Saints?
And, no matter what other people say...
I know he'd say Leeds Bradford probably, but...
and the whole derby and everything. But for me, Saints-Wigan is the biggest. And, I've seen it close up, the rivalry between the two clubs, between the two towns. And, two teams with history of winning trophies and competing against each other on the biggest stage. And for everything that we've been through this year and the uncertainty and the disruptions and everything, I think we could possibly have the best game that we've had for 20 years in a grand final. It's just teed it up perfect and just happened to play each other, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and that was a classic. So I think to take it now into a game that means everything. You can forget every game that's been played in Super League now this year. It comes down to this 80 minutes.
Yeah, and I think you're so right with that. I think it comes down to the whys, doesn't it? Why do you want to win? I think in a normal round you just want to win to get 2 points, but then you get a grand final, you want to win because it's a grand final, so you're more motivated as a player. But then the other whys are, it's a derby. They've got great players retiring. There's every single possible why you could look for in a game to get a good game out of it.
Well, there's so many subplots to talk about, and that's what we're going to talk about in the next hour or so. We want you to get involved as well. Use the hashtag Grand Final. But let's start our build-up by hearing from the Coach of the Year. It's Wigan's Adrian Lamb.
Grand Final week. You fell just short last season. It must be pleasing for you guys to go one step further and make it this time around.
Yeah, I think on a difficult year that we've had, I think we've forgotten to realise that we did finish second last year at the end of the season and just, in the 2 semi-finals went bang, bang and we were out. So it's an area we've talked about and we wanted to improve in for 2020. And, we've been a lot better this time around. We've got a lot of players that are fit as opposed to this time last year. A lot of experience in there as well and some extra reasons in a few of the players being their last game for the club.
And you seem to have hit form at the right time this season. You're coming into this game full of confidence, I'm sure. You must feel coming into it that the team are raring to go and have prepared themselves in the best way possible.
Yeah, since coming back from the lockdown, we've played some pretty good rugby right through, to be fair. We're averaging 24 points a game with the ball. And over the last month, only 6 points against. So we're certainly playing some rugby that's good enough to win the game on Friday night. We've just got to make sure that we're focused. That the group's a confident group at the moment. We've taken the opportunity of this lockdown year to become closer as a group with all staff and all players. And you can see that in the performances on the weekends.
That's what it's all about, that trophy. Scully, he's really grown into this role because last season, obviously, there was all sorts of rumours about, Sean Edwards, wasn't there? And he's really grown into it.
Yeah, there was a lot of disruption, wasn't there, at Wigan last year with the whole, Adrian Lamb coming in and Sean Edwards, is he taking over? And where does that leave Adrian Lamb on a short-term contract? But, obviously, Lammy took the job, did a great job last year, with what he had and obviously has grown into the role, signed some great players and... Had a good year, league leaders and coach of the year. So it's not been a bad first full season for Adrian Lamb.
And unbeaten since that semi-final defeat in the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, they've been great, and I think the key stat probably out of that interview there was only conceding 6 points a game for the last 4 games. And I think an important factor for the Wigan side is they beat Saints for the first time in about 4 or 5 times in the game running into this. So I think it's going to give them some confidence. With that, and you need good defence in grand finals. If you're going to win a grand final, you're going to have to defend for 4 or 5 sets in a row.
Is that game relevant at the end of October, the 18-16? It was very tight, wasn't it, till late on?
Yeah, I mean, it's relevant, as in, JP said then, I think Wigan probably got a bit of a monkey off the back in regards to beating Saints. But it won't count for anything in regards to the result of this game. This is all about 80 minutes, and the game is that tight that it's the best team on the day wins. You can throw the form book out the window, you can take the form book with you because both teams are playing well anyway. So there is absolutely nothing to split these sides other than how they perform on Friday.
You've heard plenty of team talks ahead of a grand final. These team talks quite easy, isn't it? We're playing Saints as well.
Yeah, I think it's all done for them already, the motivational side of it. I think for me, as a coach, probably trying to keep a lid on the emotions with the players because they've got all these motivating factors going in. I think, Scully, you'll know, but going into a derby, you're pretty pumped up anyway for a derby. Going into a grand final, you're pumped up. And I think for myself, I played in a team in 2003 when Jimmy Lowes was retiring. And we had that much respect for him, and all of us were frothing at the mouth wanting to win the game for Lowes. And I think some of them younger players will be like that for Sean O'Loughlin and James Graham. I think the coach is, look, let's keep a lid on this emotion, make sure the process and the game plan's right.
Because 2015, a number of you were retiring, weren't they? Of course.
Yeah, we were all off. Yeah, and we did, as a team, we kept a lid on that all year, and Macaroni kind of dipped into that in the last couple of weeks. In the last couple of weeks, started saying, look, these guys...
use it to your advantage?
Yeah, to the advantage. You've got to get this extra effort out there. These guys have been with you for the last kind of 10 years, 20 years.
It's such a balancing act, isn't it? Keeping, getting pumped up for a big game where the intensity, it is a step up from a Super League. It's like playing international rugby, isn't it? It's that step up what a grand final is. But not wasting energy in that nervous energy and overplaying the game, before you walk out on the field.
Well, we are going to say goodbye to a one-club man. He made his debut in 2002. He's been captain since 2006. Sean O'Loughlin will play his final game for Wigan tomorrow night. And earlier on this week, he joined our weekly rugby league show, The Last Tackle. Sean, if I can start with you. Happy birthday today, mate. Many happy returns. And then last week you made the big announcement that this is going to be your final game.
Yeah, it's a tough decision, but it's something I've kind of toyed with for a couple of years now, and I think this year just felt right. I don't know if the circumstance of the season, the way that's panned out, and with the COVID situation, but I just felt I've not really got enough games that I'd like to get this year, and I think it made the decision to finally do it a little bit more easy.
And it was a strange farewell, obviously, last week at the DW Stadium, but at least you got to play time at great with fans, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the fans would have definitely made it more special, but I was pretty privileged to get a game. Though, if you'd asked me a few months ago, I didn't think we was going to get an opportunity to get back and get to the DW. But yeah, to get that semi there was pretty special, and the club made a big deal of it, and the players got behind it. Yeah, it was pretty special.
Sean O'Loughlin will be making his 8th appearance in the grand final. He's won it on 4 occasions. The last time was in 2018. He had the emotion that year, didn't he, with Sean Wayne retiring. Right then, Jamie. Sean will beat your record of the oldest player of appearing in a grand final at 38 years and 3 days. You were 37 and 300 days in your victory over Wigan in 2015.
The thing is, though, he looks 28, and I look 47 when I play, so there's a bit of a difference. Yeah, what an incredible record, and I think Sean mentioned the word special about 3 or 4 times, and he's a special player. I think he's been one of the best in the last 20 or 30 years, and you think of really iconic players of Super League, and he'd be in the top 10, I think, of iconic players that Super League have produced, and you just think the boots he had to fill, like Andrew Farrell's boots, and I think he more than did that at Wigan.
You've obviously played against him, you've played with him international level, and you've coached him international level as well. He is the ultimate professional, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just a hell of a player. I think he's one of the guys you want next year when you're playing for your country. There's no coincidence that he was involved in the teams that last beat Australia. I mean, we were kind of senior players then, but to bring him in as a youngster player, he never let anybody down. Then playing against him, you always knew that. I always thought it was kind of a 6-point player for Wigan. You put him in the side, Wigan are 6 points better. He gets more out of everybody around him. and then working as the manager of England when he was captain for the World Cup. He was just outstanding, really, really professional, got on with his job, and I think as a player, even though he didn't play in the NRL, he's respected on both sides of the globe.
Captain since 2006.
Yeah, and it was there was a lot of talk about that when he got it as well, a lot of pressure, and obviously, you know, well documented that he's Andy Farrell's brother-in-law, and a lot of pressure on Lockers, because Wigan were going through quite a transitional period as well. You know, it was quite a lean time for the club in regards to successes, but Sean, you know, and he just grew into that role. But you know, for the player that he is, you know, for me, he's what a great captain is. He leads the way with his performance, not just what he says, you know, and the standards that he sets, and you know, great player but great person as well.
I remember 2018, that campaign, he missed quite a lot of it as well, hadn't he? But he played a big part in that victory over Warrington.
Yeah, and JP mentioned it before. It's just, you know, having him in and around the players, you know, in the changing rooms, on the field. He can pick everybody else's performance up. You know, when they wheeled him out for the grand final, he'd not played many games. You know, I think they brought him on in the front row. Literally, just quite a simple, you know, performance by Sean, but it's the impact that he had on everybody else being around.
So before the game, do you look around the dressing room, man?
Yeah, for sure you do. So it's always great, I think, when you create a good bond with players, and you know, like for example, me and Kylie Luluai, you know, as the back end of our career, we'd always like playing together. And there's certain players, when you're a youngster coming through, you think, I'm glad he's on my side today. You feel, I think, as a youngster, a bit more secure when you've got some of these older heads who are great players, and he's one of those.
And I think even you know, we spoke about it before about keeping the tempo on the team before the game. Having the likes of Sean O'Loughlin in the changing rooms, he'll be going around speaking to these young players who are quite new to this experience of a grand final, of a big game, and just keeping them nice and calm.
But you say, you know, new to the experience. There's vast experience in both squads, isn't there, of the grand final? Saints, 39 appearances in grand finals between them. Wigan, 43.
Yeah, there is, and it's just everything that's why it's set to be, you know, one of the best games that we've seen in a grand final.
Right, the man of the match is given the Harry Sunderland trophy. Scully will be you're awarding, aren't you, tomorrow?
I am, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, very honoured to be doing that.
So the Harry Sunderland trophy. The winner of that in 2016 was Liam Farrell. He's been speaking to Lewis about his role and experience in grand finals.
Liam, very different circumstances, different stadium, of course, no crowd, but does this still feel like grand final week? Has he got that familiar grand final feeling?
Yeah, it's been a strange year. Obviously, doing all the media over Zoom and all the stuff with the games and not having crowds, things like that. It's happened in all sports, but rugby league's dealt with it very well, and for us to be involved in the grand final at the end of the year is a successful year for us, and we're really looking forward to it. Obviously, against our local rivals, St Helens, it's going to be a big game, and obviously two teams running very good form at the moment, so we're really looking forward to it.
And you've obviously been here a few times before. Does that change your role a little bit in these games? Is it about experience and guiding the team through it?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't say my role changes. I've got things in the game what I need to do as a back rower and make sure I do them, but I can pass my experience on from previous games and what I think works best and how to deal with certain situations. And I just think being involved in every moment, don't let the game pass you by. Just make sure you do your little bit for the team and make sure you get the win.
That's what it's all about, the Betfred Super League trophy. It's a grand final. Sky's coverage starts at 7 o'clock on Friday night. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Right, let's go to the Media Hub and join Lewis. Lewis was talking to Liam Farrell there, and the players have been fantastic in the build-up to this grand final, haven't they, Lewis?
Yeah, it's been brilliant, Mark, and how great is it that we're stood here talking about a grand final after the last 9 months that we've been through. There were times we didn't think we'd be here, and what a grand final it should be. With all due respect to some of the more recent grand finals, we probably are due a classic, and that does seem to be the opinion of people on social media. We've been polling throughout the day, of course, across our Twitter page, and it seems to be that 2/3 of people seem to be thinking the same way. 63% are backing a Wigan win, The same number think that it's going to be a low-scoring game, and we've got, again, 64 people saying it's going to be a winning margin of less than 10 points, so really not much in it in the minds of the supporters. A few comments as well. Adam, who is a Warrington fan, saying that he thinks Wigan will win, backing up the majority of people from our polls on Twitter as well. So plenty of people backing Wigan, it seems, Mark, but Saints did it last year and you wouldn't write them off, would you?
You certainly wouldn't, and you saw behind Lewis as well. We're top price to win the grand final, whether you fancy Wigan or St Helens. Wigan are slight favourites at the moment. When we opened the book last weekend, Saints were slight favourites. Wigan have gone slight favourites, but it's not by much, because for many, this is a toss of a coin, this game, isn't it?
It is a
I know
toss
you're
of a
not
coin.
going to say, obviously, you're going to tip Saints, we know that, but without your Saints hat on, there's not much between the two sides.
No, there's not, and we've said it all the way through. Everything points to a golden point game for me. It's that close, and it's about the team that handles the pressure best that turns in a performance. And two great sides who can play rugby, who have got strong defences as well. So it's will the weather change? What's the weather forecast in games? Often the grand finals in wet weather rugby, it's who's got the best kicking game and can win that arm wrestle, and that's big games come down to that.
Look, we'd love to be at Old Trafford, but Manchester United's European fixture list, it can't be.
Yep.
We'd love to have a crowd down. Unfortunately, we can't. But we've still got a hell of a grand final, haven't we?
That's it. You've got it right. Let's talk about the game. The game's, I think, is going to be spectacular. I know we're not going to have 70,000 fans. It's not going to be at Old Trafford. But for me, it's all about the game. It's all about the quality of the game and how intense it's going to be. And I think everyone's excited about it, even neutrals, because they know how tight it's going to be. And I'm with Scully on this. I think we've got a first, it being at Hull, a first with no crowd, and I think a first with Golden Point as well.
You two were involved in a classic, weren't you, in 2002? You were on the wrong end of it there, weren't you?
Talk about that.
Go on then, Scully, talk about it. What was it, 1918, wasn't it, to Saints?
Yeah. I think that was the one where Jointy slipped, wasn't it?
Yeah, that
was. We threw that one in before. Do you know what? We've been involved in some great games, and two against Bradford for me. My first one in 99, I think went down.
That was tight as well,
2
wasn't
points.
it?
That was 8-6.
8-6, yeah.
And then obviously 2002, which Sean Long classic drop goal. But they're often great games because of that intensity, and it's do or die rugby. Everything that you've done throughout the year is about that 80 minutes and wanting to pick that trophy up.
We can rejoin Lewis. Lewis, you got a question off Facebook for the fellas.
Yeah, we've got one from Anthony, and I'll start with Scully on this one because I think he may have an opinion on this. Which Wigan side is the best side that you've played against in your time?
Which Wigan side? It's difficult. I mean, 2002 was obviously a great Wigan side. Adrian Lamb was in that. Obviously now the Wigan coach, the likes of Andy Farrell, Dave Furner, and unfortunately that's the only final I've ever lost was in the Challenge Cup in 2002. So I'd have to say probably that is right up there.
JP, you'd have had a few as well, a few tussles with Wigan.
Yeah, loads of the years playing the same as playing for Leeds at Wigan. I think the team Scully's on about 2001, 2002. You had obviously Faz and Lammy Furner, and Steve Renoff was playing back then, flirted with stars. But I think as well, the teams when Michael Maguire first came over, probably 2010, 2011, that they were exceptionally tough teams to play against.
And Scully, 2000, you beat Wigan, didn't you, in the final, and a drop goal as well.
Yes, it was a big one for us. Obviously, everything we spoke about so far about it being a derby game and that, but for us to back up be the first team to back up a grand final, from that win in '99 was special. I remember Chris Joint's quote. Everyone was saying, because Saints, we were renowned for scoring points, but somebody said we can't defend. He said, well, we've just defended our title, and I thought it was a classic line from Chris Joint. So yeah, it was a great win, and can Saints do it again, be back-to-back winners and beating Wigan?
Well, Wigan have got some very, very good players, including a man who's had a great season. He was a contender for the Steve Prescott MBE Man of Steel Award. Let's hear from Bevan French.
Bevan, thank you for joining us. Your first taste of a Betfred Super League Grand Final, albeit in slightly different circumstances. Just how excited are you to be taking the field on Friday night?
Yeah, I'm probably, obviously very excited. I think, like you said, it's going to be my first Grand Final this weekend. So, especially against a team of St Helens with the history that we have there, and I know all my family are going to be up early, bright and early in the morning, back in Australia to watch. And yeah, to make it to the grand final in such a crazy year, I think just makes that a bit more exciting. If we can come away and win the competition this year with the year that we've had, we'll definitely remember it for quite some time.
And both yourself and the team seem to have hit some fantastic form at just the right time as we come into the tail end of this season. You must be really confident the way you have been playing.
Yeah, we have been very confident. Because, like you said, we're starting to hit the form at the right time of the year, and everyone's feeling, I think, really fresh. To be honest, I think it has been a long year, but we've had that break in between, in the middle of the season there, which I think helped a lot more of our experienced players. I know, speaking with Tommy in particular, that break in between there really helped him. He's come back now, and you can see the form he's in. It's really done him, all the benefits. So, not only him but everyone else. We're starting to hit the straps now at the right of the year. Our training's changed a bit to suit this time of the year, and everyone's feeling really good. So that goes a long way to making us feel very confident.
Nine to 1 to get the first try tomorrow night. Right, JP, he has been excellent this season.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I think, watching him, if I'm being honest, watching him play last year when he first signed, I thought, is he going to adapt to this game over here? But it's proved me wrong, and I think he's been exceptional, certainly in the back end of the year. And I think out of all the Wigan players, he's the one on Friday night that's going to get most of the Wigan fans out of their armchairs. I think he's that type of player. If you're at a game, he gets you out of your seat because he just does incredible things. That pace of his is just not unbelievable. And with pace, you make things happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you can't give somebody is blistering pace, and that's what Bevan French has got. It's so important that the Saints team control the guys in front of Bevan French, not to give him that room, because if you give him space, in a broken defensive line, he'll cut you to pieces.
13 tries for Bevan French this season. Lewis, I think you've got a question for the fellas.
Yeah, I think we've got a few Wigan fans watching, Mark and Scully. I think they're trying to get you to talk about 2004. Because, who was the toughest player you ever played against for Wigan?
Oh, it definitely wasn't that Farrell. No. Some great players, some tough guys as well. It's a question you get asked quite a lot. Who's the toughest player you played against in your career? And he happened to play for Wigan at one point in his career. It wasn't when he was at his prime, but it was the late, great Quentin Ponga.
JP, I'll open it up to you.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Faza, Andy Farrell, unfortunately, Scully. But I think, as a player playing against him, you really wanted to play your best against him because you knew how good he was. And the more I look back on his career, the more I look at how competitive he was and how skillful and tough he was. You grow more and more respect for him, I think, as the ages go by.
And we've got one from Gary as well. This is an interesting one. Did either of you ever turn down a move to Wigan in your careers, JP?
No.
Scully?
I got approached with Wigan when I was a kid, junior, when obviously I chose Warrington.
There we are. Very diplomatic from the fellas. Let's just turn our attention to Super League in general, because we said at the beginning of the show it's just been an absolutely incredible season, the strangest season as well. And look, there's so many people behind the scenes who have done fantastic work at the RFL, all the officials, all the coaches, all the players at the clubs, and at the Super League as well. Their staff have just done a superb job. Let's say from their Supremo, it's Robert Elston.
Robert, can you put into words this season?
Challenging, stressful, and actually, the uncertainty of what lies ahead, the whole roller coaster, I guess, Mark, is another word, where there's a sense that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and all of a sudden the door to that tunnel gets slammed in your face. There's been all of that and more. So challenge, really. I've worked in sport for a long, long time and never known anything like this. And the need for us all to be adaptable, to be flexible, to work collaboratively, to be resourceful, to be resilient, all those sorts of things have been, really evident over the last 9 months, and pretty much everybody in the game, players, staff, colleagues, partners, friends, family, fans rather, have needed to bring all those qualities with them, throughout this entire journey. And I think when we look back on it, we can look back with great pride that indeed is what happened, that everybody pulled together, everybody showed all those attributes and skills and behaviours, and we've come out of it, and I'm sure we will come out of it on Friday night with a great grand final and a memorable Super League.
Were you worried at times that we won't even get to this stage?
I don't think I ever felt that we wouldn't deliver, Mark. I think there were lots of occasions where we felt if circumstances conspired against us, we were going to be in a very challenging place. We absolutely had our hearts in our mouths every Tuesday night when test results came back. We had one eye very firmly fixed on Perpignan and the Dragons, for example. So there were a number of things that would have, were challenging if they'd have all stacked up together at the same time, the sort of perfect storm against us that might have jeopardised the whole season. But I felt we had a real willingness and a can-do attitude from everybody who had a role to play. And there was immense flexibility. There was immense resourcefulness, as I said before, and a real willingness to finish. And therefore, with all people and all stakeholders displaying that commitment, I think I always felt we were going to get through it.
Super League Supremo, Robert Elston. Look, I think there's a lot of unsung heroes who've got the show on the road. I mean, the number of stewards who still work though, there's no fans, the testers, there's a lot of people we need to thank to get to this position, isn't there?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think Robert got it right there. It's been a team effort from everybody to get us there. And I think the one thing for me about getting the Super League back up and running it's given us some normality back, I think, because I think in the world we're in at the moment, the thing we're all searching for is some normality. We want to get back to how things were. And I think being able to sit down and watch Super League on a Friday night and Thursday for a lot of people, it is normality. And I think to be applauded for that. And I believe he was right. They've always found a way. I think as players, you always find a way to do things. Even when you're an underdog down in a game, it's just kind of ingrained into you over the period of your life playing it. And I think the Super League staff and everybody around it have epitomised that. There's always a way to make things happen if you want to do it enough.
Sean O'Loughlin said on this show on Tuesday, the players felt a responsibility to come back and entertain as well with, what everyone's gone on and the amazing work the NHS staff have done.
Yeah, back up, like you said, the great work that they've done and the way the players, I think Robert nailed it there, saying adaptable. Everybody's been adaptable. You're never ever going to get the perfect solution. You're never going to please everybody, but to be able to get as much rugby as we've got on with our partner Sky Sports on the broadcasting deal, who have been tremendous all the way through this as well, it's been great. And we are, and we've proven time after time how resilient as a game we are.
And I think we've got to praise a number of teams as well who stepped in at the last minute. Because obviously with Toronto dropping out, we're not going to go into that in this show. That's a whole new show, isn't it? About Toronto and who comes into the Super League. But, a number of clubs had to step in at the last minute, didn't they? Because of positive COVID tests in other clubs. I
think Hull were really the first, weren't they? Who just went, all right, we'll play. It's a bit
Which
like
is
knocking
magnificent,
on
your
mate's door.
No,
right?
but to keep the fixtures on Sky.
Oh, yeah, it's incredible by the players and the staff, because usually when you're playing, you've got 7-day preparation. In fact, you've almost got a year before, when you're playing, and you've got 7-day build-up. You spend all the time looking at the videos, and this time around, Hull just went, all right, let's do it, let's play.
How much has been made over the past few years of the Easter period of playing Friday, Monday? It's going to be easier this year. We'll throw the Easter back in. That's it's only once a year. The way the players have handled it, and the clubs and the staff, and to be able to to get games, and back up games at short periods and like you say, fill in, when other teams have had to pull out has been remarkable.
I think you've got to remember as well, right, that the intensity of the games has gone through the roof down at the new rules as well. Every game's, I don't know, is it 10-15% more play the balls involved, and they've been backing up every 3 or 4 days, and I think that just speaks volumes about the commitment from the players.
And news today that next season's going to start on the 11th of March. And I asked Robert about this. He said it's important to give the players a break because it's a big year. And he said, these players will want to represent the country at the World Cup as well.
Yeah, they will. They'll want to be fresh. They'll want to be fresh from that. I think you have to remember, though, look, during the lockdown, they had space then. They had some time to breathe. They were away from the sport. And I think this time that they've got now, over 3 months, 3.5 months, is the longest break some of these players have ever had. Certainly the international players, and they'll give them a chance to be ready for what is it's just a huge year for the sport. Super League's fantastic, but the World Cup as well, I think, just could be such a defining moment for our sport, given the year we've been through and that you've not been able to go to live events. And I just think there'll be a thirst for that in this country.
Oh, yeah, and touch wood, the world will be back to normal by then. Probably not for you two. You'll still be running up mountains and doing 26 hours on watt bikes, you pair of nutters.
It's. I think what this has brought is people realise how much sport and live sport means to them. And the mental health and the well-being and just their enjoyment. When you get something all the time, sometimes you don't realise what you've got until it's taken away. And I think hopefully, as JP said, we've got a great Super League season next year where hopefully crowds will be in, stadiums will be full, and then roll that onto one of the biggest competitions that our country's seen in a long time in the Rugby League World Cup.
Let's turn our attention back to the game tomorrow night, the grand final. We've spoken about Sean O'Loughlin being his last game. It's also going to be the last dance for James Graham, and early on in the week he joined us here on Betfred TV. James, the best 2 teams this season, first versus second, and obviously this fierce rivalry as well, Saints-Wigan.
Yeah, like you touched on there, 1v2. The last time we played, I think, was the game of the season so far. 2 teams that give it their all, a local derby. That sort of stuff is more on the banter side between the 2 towns. Obviously you grow up, with a dislike for Wigan, and I imagine it's the same for people in Wigan. Their dislike for St Helens. Don't want to call it hate because it's such a strong word, but we know what it means to the people of both towns, and especially when everything's on the line. Any sort of Challenge Cup final between the 2 teams or grand finals, they've always been that extra notch up.
James Graham, who joined us early on in the week. Lewis, I believe you've got some more questions for us.
Yeah, we've got a really good one from Daniel. I think we might get a slightly biased answer to this one, unless Scully's going to claim he was a half-back. Will this game be won or lost in the forwards or the backs? And Scully, I'll start with you.
I think it's for the backs to be able to do their stuff. I think the forwards have got to get on top, and it's going to be a battle between two great packs. You look at the Saints team, and James Roby can cause a lot of problems from dummy half, but to be able to do that, and the likes of Alex Walmsley and Morgan Knowles have got to get him a quick play of the ball, and the Wigan defence on the opposite side have got to try and control that, and opposite for when Wigan have got the ball. So the backs can. The old saying, forwards win your game, the backs decide by how much.
Taking the words out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing. I think the forwards decide it. They will decide it, and I think. For me, Wigan have got a key job to do on Alex Walmsley. I think Alex Walmsley is the #1 threat going forward with the ball, and he's like their talisman. I think with the way he plays the game, I think at times this year he's been unplayable almost. Wigan have to do a number on him if they want to win.
Worth remembering, of course, Mark, that neither of these teams conceded a try in the semi-finals. Defences were both top-notch. It's going to be tough going out there Friday night.
It certainly will be. I think it could be very, very tight early on as well. Toss of a coin for me. But let's talk James Graham. Clearly decided to come back to Saints and then, call an end to what's been an illustrious career in Australia and for the Saints as well.
It has been an illustrious career, hasn't it? He's just an out-and-out competitor. He has been from when he come through, the scene at St Helens, coming through the academy, and just a great lad. You know, he's just never ever changed over the years with the success that he's had, and as you say, you know, leads from the front with his performance.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been an outstanding player. I think he's one of them with Lockers. He's been one of kind of the top 10 players over the last 20 or 30 years. I think he changed the way the game was played a bit as prop when he came through, started passing the ball. Every player, certainly I was playing prop at that time, we had to up our game, we had to change our game. And I think he's just developed as a player. I don't think physically he's where he's at. He used to be, but mentally, I think he gets the best out of all the players around him and knows how to win games. And that's his key strength for Saints at the moment.
And we talk about looking around the dressing room. Is he a bonus for your lot tomorrow night?
He is. He's very much what we said about Sean O'Loughlin. It's having that experience, having that voice for the younger players, and you know, being able to talk them through, you know, what's in front of them. And you know, he's still a tremendous player as well. Yeah, he's not the player that he was, but you know, he'll still be certainly out there doing a job and ripping that ball in. And as JP says, you know, completely changed the way props play in the game. And I think that was a big part of his success in Australia. We know that the way the NRL was played, it was very, you know, win that arm wrestle, complete your sets, kick, and James Graham all of a sudden starts, you know, putting halfbacks through gaps, and they're looking up and saying, well, what's this? And you know, the game kind of evolved on the back of what James brought.
You know what he's good at, I think? He's good at holding players accountable to their own performance. You know him, he's not shy in coming forward verbally. And in that dressing room, we'll be making sure that every player is accountable to their own performance when they get out there. And that's such a great strength to have as a captain and as a leader in a team.
Well, let's get more build-up from Saints. Christian Wolff took over at the start of the season, and what a strange season it's been.
Well, firstly, Christian, first season, first grand final. That must be pretty satisfying for you to be able to say.
Yeah, look, it is. It's certainly exciting, and it's been an exciting week ever since we got through the semi-final last weekend, and you know, really looking forward to the game. And you know, obviously the players are the ones that deserve the credit. They've done all the hard work, and there's also been a lot of added discipline and sacrifice and things like that this year as well. So to be able to get to a grand final on the back of all of what they've had to overcome this year is an outstanding effort from them.
How confidence-inspiring and reassuring is it for you as a coach, knowing that the bulk of this squad were there last year winning it and have done it before?
You know that they know how to get the job done, I suppose, and that gives you a lot of confidence. And yeah, the majority of our players have played in obviously a grand final last year, but there's a lot who've played in plenty of grand finals and won a number of them as well. So as I said, it gives you a real confidence that they know how to get the job done, and they know what's required, and but they know how to prepare themselves to get that out of themselves as well. And it's probably important to recognise too that Wigan have got a number of players in the same sort of boat. So it's not a given that, you know, we're going to win because we've got experience, that's for sure. But it certainly does help, and as I said, it gives you a lot of confidence.
Scully, if I can start with you. Obviously, Justin Holbrook won it last year, did a great job. Many people were worried when Justin left, but Christian Wolff picked up where Justin left.
Yeah, and obviously a very, very, very good coach. Very different than Justin, you know, quite a straight talking, you know, demanding coach, but obviously knows his stuff. We know Christian's background from what he did with the Tonga national team as well. You know, but nothing but good things to hear from the Saints camp about Christian. You know, I've spoken to him a number of times, and yeah, he's a great bloke, very, very intense, but obviously gets the best out of his players.
Yeah, I think it's a thankless task, isn't it, as a coach coming in and taking over the side that's just won the grand final. But I think he's been outstanding. I like him. He's just, I don't know him too well personally, but he just strikes me as a guy who's honest, and Saints play like an honest side, and I think his thing has been defence, and I think there's been an improvement in Saints' defence this year, so that's all you can ask for as a coach.
How is he different to Justin then?
I think he's very much defensive based, and I think, you know, speaking to the likes of Paul Wellens and said that the way he coaches is, a lot of coaches, and certainly from Australia, are defence minded in you know, if you stop the opposition scoring, that you're going to win more games than you're going to lose, and certainly that's Christian's philosophy. He's got he took on a great team at St Helens as well with a lot of great players. They don't need that much coaching. I think what Christian is obviously the standards that he sets, what he demands from the players, and probably the detail in that. But he's got a great team as well to play with.
Lewis, I believe you've got some more questions for the fellas.
Yeah, obviously plenty of superstars going to be out there tomorrow night. We've got a question from AJ. What is the head-to-head battle that could decide the game tomorrow night, JP?
It's a big challenge, is that the head-to-head one? I think the fullbacks are going to be important tomorrow, both different styles. Obviously spoke about Betfred before, that ability. He's elusive, he's electric with pace, and then you've got Lachlan Coote, who's been outstanding over the last few games. Been there, done it, vastly experienced, but more of a reader of the game, a passer of the game, bringing other people into the game. And I think either one of those two has an outstanding game, a man of the match games, and they could go well to letting the team win the trophy.
Scully, both sets of halfbacks are going to have a big role to play in that, aren't they? Which team could get the ball moving well?
Yeah, definitely. You know, both Theo Farge and Johnny Lomax, Jackson Hastings, Tommy Luluwai, you know, they direct the teams on the field, and there's going to be a lot of responsibility on them guys of you know, where the end of sets are, where the kicking game is. For me as well, it starts before them as well. I think James Roby and Sam Powell. Sam Powell's had his best year ever for Wigan for me this year. He's been outstanding. Missed the semi-final, but he's back, and they're two key indicators for their teams.
Thanks, Lewis. We're also top price, aren't we, on the first try scorer bets? And you mentioned Lachlan Coote. He's pitched in with 10 tries this season.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, hasn't he? He's not as dynamic as what Bevan French is, but I think Lachlan gives a lot more. You know, you very rarely see any errors off Lachlan, but he's got a lot of creative skills as well. He's like another halfback in that attacking line. And again, just his positional play, very much like Paul Wellens was. You know, if there's a kick goes up, that Lachlan Coote will be underneath it. I think the way he reads the game, and you know, his mind's a couple of players in front, but he's an outstanding player.
He's a hell of a kicker as well, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's you know, his goal kicking percentages is right up there, and you know, we've already spoke about it could go to a golden point. So you know, them kicks can be important. If there's tries scored, it could be that tight.
Lachlan Coote.
Yeah, for me, I think if you're wanting good bets, I always think in games like this, like a good bet would be Lachlan Coote to score, win man of the match, and Saints to win. And then you'd say the same for Bev French as well. I think they're the kind of bets you want to look at. And I think he's just influential. I think he's a calming character at the back. Having worked with him with Great Britain, he's good at organising plays in and around him. And if he plays well, they could go a long way to winning.
We talk about influential players, and we talked about longevity at the beginning of the show as well, when we talked about Sean O'Loughlin. How good is James Roby still? How does he do it?
You get bored of talking about James Roby, don't you? I have to write a column for the St Helens Star, sponsored by Betfred, and it's hard every week not to mention James Roby. It's just the standard that he plays at week in, week out is phenomenal. You know, he's an absolute machine of a man. The standard that he plays, everything that he does defensively, offensively, you know, his effort-based stuff is. His worst is 9 out of 10.
Yeah, and I know it doesn't make a difference in sport, but he's a really nice fella as well, isn't he?
He's just such a, and that's the thing with James, is everything that he does is backed up by his performance. It's not what he says, because he doesn't really say a lot. And again, you know, he's captain of the team where we spoke about Sean O'Loughlin, leading the way with their performance. If you know, it's difficult, I know, and JP knows, we've both been captain, it's difficult to get stuck into somebody of not performing if you're not doing it yourself. And James Roby, for me, is the ultimate captain, because he leads the way, and he's got that standard of performance week in, week out.
Well, we tried to ruin his grand final week by getting him to be interviewed by Lewis.
So, James, we can see behind you that picture of you lifting the Betfred Super League trophy last season, back-to-back grand finals. What would it mean to do it again on Friday night?
Yeah, it'd be very special. I think, like you said, to go back-to-back, you know, I don't think it's been done many times, and you know, it obviously takes a lot of hard work, a lot of effort along the way, and you know, we've done that throughout the year. That's why we're there, I suppose. But obviously, you know, the big dance on Friday night will be you know, a great occasion for us, and one that we'll definitely have to, you know, be at our best for.
And of course, it's against the old enemy. It's against Wigan. Is there a score to settle with them picking you to that League Leaders Shield trophy?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think obviously, yeah, we did obviously want to win that game. the other week, and people have referred to that game as being a high quality game, really fierce, and like you say, it always is like that with the derby, if you like, Saints Wigan, and so it's probably going to add a little bit of a bit of spice, if you like, to the occasion that we've played so recently, and it's been such a tough and ferocious game, but yeah, we've kind of got to stay calm on the big stage, and don't let your emotion get too much here.
He lifted the trophy last year. Could he be lifting it again this year, JP?
I think there's every chance of him being able to do that. I just think let's speak about him as a person, as a player. I just think, for me, you get talked about like the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and I think he is in the hooker position in the English hookers that I've seen play the game. And for me, it's just his ability to play at 9 out of 10 every week, and you just, as a ex-sportsman, that's what you strive for. You strive for that consistency of excellence, and not many can attain it, and he's just done it for literally the last 10, 15 years. And that's when you begin a bit blasé about how good he is, and then you only miss him when he's gone. Yeah,
I think with James, he had boots to fill though, didn't he? Coming St Helens on the back of Kieran Cunningham, who for me was the best hooker in the game, and he's got a statue up in the Totally Wicked Stadium. I think they better get the bronze out for James Roby when he retires, because he's equally up there, and just the I said it before, the way he plays week in, week out, the standard that he sets is phenomenal.
And he's witnessed the highs and the lows, hasn't he, of the grand final. He's unfortunately he's had a few defeats, but he's won it 3 times, including last year. Yeah,
and I think you really appreciate the successes when you've been through them failures. It was a tough patch for St Helens. Them defeats on the run to Leeds. So I mean, 2014 was a special one. I think they were underdogs against Wigan that year, and then obviously last year to pick up another one, and great for James to be able to be the captain to lift that trophy.
Lewis, we've got some more questions for the fellas.
Yeah, we've got a few. We'll come to you, JP, first. Which player do you look up to most of the ones that are currently playing, of the ones that are going to step out on Friday night?
For me, I like James Roby and I like Sean O'Loughlin. I just like James Roby because I just appreciate consistency and excellence at an high level, and I think he does that better than anybody else. And I think then you sometimes get underrated because you're just that good, and for me, he strikes that note. There's ropes.
Yeah, a bit of a boring answer. It's exactly the same. He's the one. I think we've said everything that there is to say about James Roby.
I mean, if you look at some of the players we are going to witness tomorrow night, we mentioned James Roby, Lachlan Coote, Alex Walmsley, Bevan French, Zach Hardacre, Jackson Hastings, a man of steel last year.
Yeah, Jackson. He was a big signing for Wigan. Obviously, the main man at Salford, and got them to a grand final. I think he's really settled in now at Wigan and taken control of that. And these are big games where big players stand up, and there's a lot of pressure on Jackson to turn in a big performance.
We mentioned at the beginning it has been an incredible year. It's been a very emotional year as well. And at the beginning of the season, we decided to double the Man of the Match award for our live Sky Sports matches, and we're going to split the money between Mossy Massoy and Rob Burrow. We'll be presenting the cheques tomorrow night before the grand final. Now, Mossy Massoy was supposed to bring the ball out tomorrow, but he's in self-isolation. But we caught up with him yesterday. Here's Lewis with the questions.
Yeah, you say you're in isolation. That's obviously disappointing that you won't be able to deliver the match ball as planned on Friday at the grand final.
Yeah, I was gutted, but see how far I've come this year. Is that's just another bump in the road. So it would have been awesome to do it, but looking forward to hopefully doing it next year. And I'm currently in a 2-week isolation, and I've got a week and a bit to go. So fingers crossed I get through this isolation.
You mentioned how far you've come. Did you think earlier on this year, February and March, that you'd even be at a point where walking out would have been a possibility on Friday?
No, I always thought I would make little progress, but you know, it's come good quite quickly. So I'm really happy where I am now, but I've got a long way to go. So I didn't think I would be able to walk right now, but you know, I'm just happy to be walking.
And it's been remarkable watching you throughout the year, the progress. We've watched you on social media, the progress that you've made. What's kind of driven you and been your inspiration to keep on making that progress and keep working to the point where you are now?
I think it's my family and my kids. Biggest inspiration for myself. Just to show them that, you know, anything's possible. You know, you've got to, if you work hard. So I just want to, you know, send that message to them and you know, let them know that, you know, if you work hard in life and you can achieve things that you want to achieve.
Mossy Masoi, look, inspirational stuff. One of my highlights of a year has got to be watching him when he walked off that team bus.
Yeah, it's just been incredible. I think in a year we've all had a lot of things taken away from us, haven't we? You know, and we've all been moaning about them. I know a lot of people have lost lives and stuff, but I think we've moaned a bit about losing our freedom. And there's a guy here who lost his ability to walk and managed to get that back. And I think for this year, I think Mossy and Rob have just been an inspiration for all of us and given us some context on our own little worries in life, because we've all had bad days and tough days. But I've never woke up and thought, you know what, I might not never be able to walk again, but I'm going to, and Mossy did that and did something about it and is walking again. It's just, I think it's mind-blowing. It's incredible.
We were saying before the show, weren't we? We were all complaining because we're in tier 3, weren't we? But, you know, we've got our health.
Get a grip, eh? That's what I think when I see
got our health,
Mossy and
haven't
Rob.
we?
Yeah.
What an inspirational man. I mean, just a role model for anybody who's facing adversity and you know, just all the way through. You know, from probably the darkest days early on when he was laying in that bed and you're seeing, you know, tweets come out from him, obviously by his wife, and just a remarkable man. I'll never ever forget the first time I ever seen Mossy Masoi when Mike Rush showed me a video of him when Saints were signing him, and he said, you know, they call him the smiling assassin, and he's never stopped smiling since, has he? And all the way through this, he's just been an absolute breath of fresh air and inspiration to everybody who knows him.
There's been some great grand final moments over the years. 2002, these two battled it out, and there was a Sean Long drop goal to win it. And then 2011 was one of the greatest tries. Watch this.
Goal, third, good. 3.
Oh, he's stuck under the Burrow, and he's outstripped Wellens. It's a brilliant Burrow try, a fantastic Rob Burrow try.
A brilliant Burrow try. Now, it was 2-2, wasn't it, when he went over then? 33rd minute.
Yeah, it is the greatest try of all time in a grand final, I think. And just the context of that, 30 minutes into the game, 2-2, exceptionally tight against two teams who were in the middle of a 3-year war against each other. You know, trying to be the top dog within Super League and to split a game open like that. The try, the more you watch it, the more incredible it is. Just the bravery Rob shows just to charge into, basically the middleware free props out, come out the other side, beat one of the best defensive fullbacks Super League has ever seen, Paul Wellens, and then sprint the last 20 metres and beat 5 players to score a try. It does not get any better than that. And how is he? Yeah, look, Rob physically is not in the best possible way. We all know that. We've seen his, you know, deteriorating over time, but his spirit's there. His spirit is absolute there. We had kind of a Zoom catch up. He can't speak much at the moment, but he texted afterwards saying, look, I can't speak much, but I've spoken for 2 lifetimes, so it's good just to listen to people and hear people laugh, and that's Rob's spirit throughout. And I think the greatest thing about watching Mossy and Rob is that they don't blame anyone, do they? They're just dignified and they've accepted the circumstances and fighting in the best possible spirit, and Rob's still got that humour and that indomitable spirit. They are inspirations for us all.
Hell of a player.
He was hell of a player, and like you say, you know, he's took into this battle what he did all the way through his career. You know, he was always against adversity, wasn't he, with his size, and for me, he'll go down as one of the greats of the Super League era because of the way that he performed, and that try just summed him up. You know, big games are won by big players, and And that for me is the best ever grand final try.
And he's on the front cover of the programme for the grand final tomorrow night, and the proceeds will go to the MND Association as well. And I know Jamie's done loads for Rob Burrow and the MND Association. What you and your teammates have done has just been phenomenal.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I think
you should be really proud.
Yeah, look, I think just as teammates, it's great being there when you win grand finals and you win a Challenge Cup. But to be a proper teammate, you're there from when your mate's in trouble, and I think that's what you've seen. People rally around Rob. You've had that with Steve Prescott yourself, didn't you? People want to rally around Steve Prescott. He was an inspiration, and I think you've seen that again. Teammates is more than winning grand finals. It's about being there for your mate in difficult times.
I think I was at the game. We went to a lot of Lancashire boys over to Rob and Jamie Jones' his game, and for me, you know, I've gone cold thinking about it. It was one of the occasions that I'll never ever forget. I think. You know, you see jerseys from every club, you know, within Super League and Championship and League One, all coming together for one of our own.
Gents, I'm going to ask you the obvious question. Why am I asking Scully?
Matt, you honestly can't ask me if Wigan are going to beat Saints in the grand final, can you?
All right, what kind of fun we're going to have then?
I think we're going to have a very, very close one. It's going to be split with a point or two. It might even go to extra time. The big thing for me for Saints is they've got to play smart. They can't get drawn into the way Wigan will want them to play, like they did in the last game. And I think if Saints can play 10 out of 10, I think a Saints 10 out of 10 is better than a Wigan 10 out of 10.
Who wins?
I'm going to go Golden Point, but I don't know who's going to win it. So, I don't like sitting on the fence, but it's that close. I think that's that close to call. That's my opinion. It's going to Golden Point, and I don't know who will win it then.
Lewis, 5 seconds. Who wins it?
It's tough, isn't it? I think in the last few weeks, Saints have been marginally better in defence than Wigan have been in attack, so I'm going to go with the Saints win.
It's a toss of a coin for me. Gents, can I just say thanks very much this season for what you've done, for having to speak to me over Zoom in March and April as well. Thanks, and you know the money you've been raising as well for Rob Burrow is just amazing. Well done, well done. That. What did you do? 45 miles?
No, it was 30 odd miles in a storm. Yeah.
Right, we've run out of time. Thanks for watching. Can I just take this opportunity to applaud everyone who's got us to this grand final. It should be an absolute cracker. Wigan versus St Helens. Make sure you're watching Sky Sports, 7 o'clock Friday night. Enjoy it. Thanks very much, everyone.
Sensational from Blake Austin. He can, Cabby! He can! Toronto are heading for Super League. 2019 Betfred winning Super League champions, the Leeds Rhinos. Absolutely fabulous. Saints are champions of Super League.